If you're wondering what Canvas is, your school probably just bought a license for it. But what exactly is Canvas? Canvas is technically an LMS, or learning management system. Not helpful? For you university people, it's kind of like Blackboard. Actually, it's more like what Blackboard could have been, but never was. But forget Blackboard. Think of Canvas as a classroom. In it, you can do all the things you can do in a normal classroom, only better, along with a lot of things that you couldn't. More on that in a second. First, you need to know that Canvas is the brainchild of a company called Instructure. It's probably meant to be a clever mashup of instruct and structure, but whatever. You need to know this because you will get to Canvas by going to a URL like this, yourschool.instructure.com. If you go to canvas.com, you'll just think you want an iPad, and you didn't. So, why should you care about Canvas? A lot of reasons, actually, but here's the good parts edition. Instructure isn't a company of educators, which is a very good thing. Instead, they are programmers and engineers and people from the business world that care about making things intuitive and pretty. And let's face it, most educational technology is a pain to use and usually ugly. Canvas is also not a downloadable program. It's on the cloud, which is all the rage right now, and basically means that you can get to it from any web browser. It also means that those yearly updates you got with Blackboard happen every other week, and they're free. So, if you have a problem or want something Canvas doesn't have, you don't have to wait a year to upgrade to the newest version at the cost of your school's fine arts budget to get it. And Canvas is helpful. Not only do they actually respond to your questions quickly, but they offer a bunch of stuff that will help you never have to ask them, an approach teachers can appreciate. From video tutorials to how-to guides to discussion forums, Canvas offers more help than you probably want, and probably more than you'll ever need. Finally, Canvas is open source. That doesn't mean a lot to anyone but the nerdiest of computer geeks, but basically it means that if you want their code, it's yours. And not in several months, like other supposedly open source companies like Google claim to be. It's there the day after it goes live in Canvas. So cool, but only if you care. Once you're in, Canvas has a lot to offer, from the speed grader, which lets you organize and zip through the worst part of teaching, to the learning outcomes, which lets you organize your course by standards like the new Common Core. Canvas lives to make you a better teacher. It gives you clickable rubrics, quizzes that can grade themselves, a gradebook that tells you if your students submit work after you've graded the rest of the class, and even a cozy place to hold class discussions where everyone in the class gets to say something, instead of listening to the teacher have a pseudo-discussion with the 3 smartest kids in the class. So, that's Canvas. Still not sure how to use it? It's really up to you, but here's a bit of theory to help you out. Teachers have all sorts of free time and nothing to do, but technology is piling on so fast that it's sometimes hard to keep up with. But when you decide to use some new technology, like Canvas, here's a way of gauging how well you do it. SAMR. S-A-M-R. This little beauty comes from Dr. Ruben Puentedura, who doesn't score any points for choosing an acronym that's easy to remember or a name that's easy to pronounce. It starts with substitution. This is when your technology helps you do the same task the same way you used to do it without the technology. If you get a smartphone but still only use it to make phone calls, that's substitution. The task is the same, but with the new technology subbed in. Augmentation means that your task is the same, but the technology makes it a bit easier or better. Like if you get a smartboard and use it to advance slides in PowerPoint from the front of your class instead of from your computer. The task is the same, but the technology makes it easier. Modification is where it starts to get good. With modification, the task is now slightly different than it used to be. In other words, you can do enough things differently that what you were doing in the first place is now changing. Think Skype or Google Hangout. What used to be a phone call can now be a video call. It's essentially communication but modified so that you can do new things, like roll your eyes. Redefinition is the goal with any new technology. Instead of just adding new features or functionality, the technology allows you to do something you couldn't do without it. The task is now redefined. For example, the task of having a class discussion usually means the teacher discusses something with the top 3 or 4 kids in the class, while everyone else struggles to stay awake. With Canvas, that discussion question is given online, and each student responds individually. Once they've all responded, they can then respond to each other's responses and leave the teacher to moderate. The teacher's task is no longer the same. Why go into this? Because technology usually has a learning curve as steep as its price tag. If you spend a lot of money on a technology that helps you do what you already do in basically the same way you've always done it, you're wasting your time and money. Substitution and augmentation may enhance your instruction, but it's usually only worth it when it transforms your instruction by modifying what you are doing or redefining it entirely. So please don't scan a worksheet into Canvas so your students can print it out. But back to the question at hand. How can I use Canvas? Do you remember when I told you to think of Canvas as a classroom? Not a teacher, not a class, not a curriculum, but a classroom? Let's run with that a little further. If you're teaching a class online, it can be your entire classroom. It's the only place where you interact with your students and actually teach. But online isn't for everyone, which is when a blended classroom is best. You have your four walls, desks, and a whiteboard, and Canvas becomes a layer over all of that. You teach using both in-person and online approaches. You may explain a concept in person and ask the class to discuss it on Canvas, giving everyone a chance to respond and be heard. But what if you don't have access to computers in class just yet? That's when Canvas, as an extension of your classroom, comes into play. Whether you are recording your class and making it available for students to re-watch at home, or you're differentiating your instruction by providing further explanations and contact to struggling learners, or supplemental information to exceptional ones. As a teacher of students, those are the three best uses for Canvas. But teachers are also students themselves, and Canvas provides a classroom for teachers to be students of teaching. Administrators can use Canvas as a classroom for professional development and as a place for departments to develop common assessments, learning outcomes, and more. Teaching is a messy and highly personal business, but Canvas makes collaboration across teachers much cleaner and more approachable. So that's Canvas. No screenshots, no tutorials, just the fundamentals of how you can use it. Every one of you is going to use Canvas differently because every one of you has different needs, which means the only real question left, aside from what's for lunch, is how are you going to make Canvas work for you?